Hey team, and welcome to the gym. We've not been in here for a while. The last time I was in here and did a webinar, we went through core drills and kind of some positioning, so that's what we're going to do again today. We're going to look at just a couple of positioning bits, a couple of common kind of exercises or movement patterns that are going to come up in your training and in your training plans, and I'm just going to visually put a how I want you to move kind of video together for them. I know you guys have got the videos on the apps, and I know some of the videos obviously are me doing the movement, but just as we kind of go into the fact that, you know, most of you have been programming with me for a long time now, I just want to make sure that if you watch this, it just freshens up some of the cues or gives you one or two things that I'll say during this video for you to think of, kind of almost like my voice in your head as you're going through the movements, which obviously you all want my voice in your head. So first one, when we're looking at dead bugs, cocoons, things like that, we're going to start on the floor, and we're going to make sure that when we're on the floor and we're setting up that position, we bring those knees into the chest, or a different way of showing you here, anterior tilt, the pelvis drops forwards. We've got a huge gap here. Posterior tilt, push that pelvis down, no gap whatsoever, and the core is tense. There is action in this core at the moment. It's holding me pinned to the floor. That's the position that we then want to go through our dead bug work. Whether we're going opposite arm, opposite leg, extend, pause, should be a pause here, no lift in the lower back, squeeze back together, no lift in the lower back, pause, squeeze. Bringing this kind of tempo into your dead bugs, super, super, super important. Lower back, constantly pushing down into the floor. I'm shaking because I've got lots of tension in the core. Similar thing with cocoons. So that's like a more advanced version of that dead bug where we're squeezing in here. We open everything out, no lift in the lower back, and then we really squeeze into a lift here, open out, squeeze, open out, squeeze. Once again, no lift in the lower back, so it's just about making sure you take that time, manipulate that pelvis, push it down, really create tension in the core. We're trying to work from here and manipulate our limb weight through our core, not through our back. Obviously, an example of it going wrong would be coming here and leaning into that position, rib cage flares, loads of gap there underneath that pelvis and underneath that lower back, meaning that the core is switching on and the lower back is taking the load, which we don't want. Press ups wise, I know it's in a lot of programs as well. I love a press up, it's probably the ex-military in me, but also they're effective. They're a really good body weight drill that, paired with like some weighted drills and things like that, really does fatigue the upper body. Really want you to think about, depending on what position you're in, setting up for that position. So again, we've got that posterior and anterior pelvic tilt. So here, posterior, I'm tucked under, there, anterior, bum's in the air, and the pelvis is tilt forward. So I want you to tuck slightly under and hold that position. Then you can bring the arms forwards, kind of shoulder width or just a bit wider, and we can drop that body weight through and push away with the core nice and tight, rather than the hips dropping into that tilt and working here, because we're just going to build up pressure into that lower back. So I know press ups are like a simple one to just kind of get in, get started, get done, but actually I want you to kind of stop, slow down, don't rush them, take your time and make sure that we're tight in here, glutes are on, everything's on, because when we get to hand release ones, we should be able to drop, lift the hands, and look, my hips don't touch the floor. My chest does, my hips don't. And then I can keep those hips controlled as I work through that position. And that's super key when we extend up to this position, that we're not switched off in the core and the pelvis, letting it sit here. We do that same thing, we draw under, we're nice and tight, and we can drop into our position, keeping ourselves nice and level and working that nice strong position. Thinking almost like a moving plank, so that everything's nice and tight as we're moving. The next exercise that I wanted to go through is with kettlebell. Some of you will have dumbbells for it as well, and it is the Romanian deadlift, okay, or stiff leg deadlift. So we've got soft knees. I'll show you from the front to start. Now soft knees don't want to be mistaken for bent knees. So I'm not locked, I'm just off soft. From there, I'm roughly hip width apart, smidge wider, depending on your kettlebell size, might be needed. I'm going to pick that kettlebell up, and at the top of this movement, I'm going to reset my posture. Naturally, most of us work at desks, we're probably going to slump into this position. I want you to lift up your shoulders, move them back, set them down. So we've got perfect posture, or as close to that as possible. Those soft knees, I'm going to shoot those hips back. You'll notice my chest is dropping, but not losing its tightness. Shoulders are still back, and then I squeeze through. From the side, here we're kind of picking it up. We've got that posture that we don't want. We're going to lift, move them back and set. Chest is then nice and tall, nice and proud. Soft knees, and then dropping that kettlebell. Somebody is pushing my hips that way, or you're trying to show somebody your bum behind, okay? So soft, pushing those hips back. My knees don't move, my back stays flat, my chest is dropping to the floor, but not here. It's engaged. Hamstrings have got the stretch. Squeeze into those glutes. Don't overextend at the top. So what we don't want to do is this. I know that's a really exaggerated poor form on all parts. We want to stay nice and tight, push those hips back. Back should stay nice and flat. We create that triangle. Then we think glute squeeze, neutral. Everything stacked, nice and close, there. And then when it comes to clean and press, for example, we're starting in this position, and we want to be thinking about resetting from here the entire time. The pull is like a single arm upright row, and then we're trying to pivot round it. We're not trying to flick and land and take an absolute battering across our shoulders and things like that. We want to be thinking about pulling up and scooting under here. Then we're catching in that position for our dip and our drive. Back down, control, close, drive. Back down, control, drive. And it's the same for both sides in terms of the kettlebell and the clean. Flick, dip, drive, if you were in person, would be like what I would be trying to dictate to you in terms of timing, pace, and control and things like that. And then lastly, just touching on the squat, similar for the clean, we want to make sure that instead of being hip width, like we were for the RDL or for any deadlift variant, we want to go just wider than hips, probably shoulders, and then setting 11 and 1 o'clock with our feet. So left foot's going to 11, right foot's going to 1. From there, chest is going to stay tall. We're going to sit back and down. We're going to bend in the knees and the hips, flexing at both at the same time. Shooting back, chest stays tall to about 90 degrees, and then drive. Again, when we drive at the top, we don't want to overextend. So from here, flexing, extending at the same time here, chest is tall, back is flat, squeeze, glutes are on, but I'm stacked up nice and tall. I'm not coming through, I'll do an example, right there. We don't want to overextend to shoot that pelvis forwards. We don't need to be here, we need to be here, especially if we've then got load into our kettlebell here, keeping our chest up tall, sitting into our 90-degree position, driving up nice and strong, stacked the whole time. There. Really, the reason I've filmed this video, picked some of those exercises, is just that refresher, just that little bit of my voice, thinking about how you move, when you move, but also what it is you want the movement to look like, because obviously a lot of you don't train in front of me in person for all of your sessions. If watching this, you look at your program and you think, I want to know what Beth would say for X, Y, and Z, put the message into the group.
and I'll film another video using the gym and put some more pointers out. Hope this helps, guys, and I hope you're having a great week. Let's enjoy the sun this weekend.